northwestern areas, there's quite a brisk breeze as well developing. And with clear skies, temperatures will fall away much lower than they have done lately. A touch of frost across many southern counties of England, some rural areas of Wales as well. We could be down to -2 or 3. Further north and west, though, with the strength of the breeze, we will be frost-free largely across the far north and west. Still a few showers out there in the morning. Plenty of sunshine, though, across eastern parts of Scotland and many central and southern areas too, as well as Northern Ireland. But cloud will start to thicken into the late morning. Looking elsewhere across the UK, there'll be a bit of cloud around, perhaps some mist and fog, but a very nice start to the weekend, actually, despite the chillier feel. And there will be a lot of sunshine through Saturday morning, probably the best part of the weekend for the UK as a whole, as rain is set to spread in from the north and west throughout Saturday afternoon. And we do have a number of warnings in force for very heavy rainfall across parts of western Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, as well as North Wales. So plenty of cloud and rain to come across the northwest. A marked difference, though, for the south and east. It's going to be actually a relatively dry and fine weekend for many central southern areas of England, as well as South Wales too. But the rain will persist across the north and west. It just keeps on coming in from the Atlantic. So there is likely to be some disruption from the rain, as well as a risk of flooding. Now that will last into Monday, and it remains unsettled next week. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things up the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Friday Night with Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News, the People's Channel, where I speak up for you, the forgotten majority. Coming up on tonight's show,
Charity begins at home, and it is unacceptable to ask hard-working British people to pay ever more tax to fund these programmes.
That's right, your money is being spent on five-star hotels, golf trips, spa resorts and useless projects overseas, all in the name of foreign aid. We'll be looking at that tonight.
The inquiry will act without fear or favour, identifying individual, institutional and systemic failure, inadequate organisational responses and failures of leadership.
Well, after all that dithering and delay, the Labour government has finally found somebody to chair the grooming gang inquiry. But will it really deliver justice for victims? We'll be debating that tonight. Plus, we need to take a frank and fearless look at the number of Afghan migrants who are currently being convicted of horrific sexual crimes against British women and girls. And the King is set to deliver a very personal message tonight about his experience with cancer, which will be broadcast, and we'll bring it to you in just a couple of minutes. Now, I'll also be joined tonight by my panel, assistant comment editor at the Daily Telegraph, Poppy Coburn, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. As ever, though, I want to hear your views tonight at gbnews.com/your say. Of course, you can reach us on X at GBNews. But now it's time for the news with Sophia Wensler.
Matt, thank you. Good evening. Your headlines at 8 o'clock. More photos from the Epstein estate have been released by the Democrats, featuring Bill Gates, Donald Trump and his former advisor Steve Bannon. However, it's being reported a spokesperson for the Republican-led Oversight Committee has criticised Democrats for today's release, accusing them of cherry-picking photos and making targeted redactions to create a false narrative about President Trump. Elsewhere, Sir Keir Starmer has held talks with the Belgian Premier at number 10 today on the prospect of using frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine to fund its defence. Britain has said it is ready to move together with the EU to unlock the Russian assets, the vast majority of which are held in Belgium. This has led to Brussels resisting so far, fearing that they are most at risk if the plan goes wrong. The Kremlin, meanwhile, has described the proposal as an illegal seizure of Russian property and cautioned that there would be retaliation. Now, Reform UK has become Britain's largest party after overtaking Labour. That's according to the Times newspaper. New leaked figures today show the Labour Party has fallen below 250,000 paid-up members, suggesting it has lost one every 7 minutes since winning office in July last year. This means Reform UK, which has 268,631 paid-up members, according to its own live counter, is now the largest party. Sir Keir Starmer has urged resident doctors to accept a deal to avert the, quote, reckless strikes planned for next week. Writing in the Guardian newspaper, the Prime Minister says it's beyond belief that they could go ahead while the NHS is in the grip of a so-called super flu outbreak. It comes as Health Secretary Wes Streeting says a surge in cases will present the NHS with a challenge unlike any it has seen since the pandemic. In other news, a man has been found guilty of murdering his wife in a rare double jeopardy case 8 years after being acquitted. Robert Rhodes killed his estranged wife, Dawn Rhodes, by slitting her throat with a knife at their family home in Surrey in June of 2016. The 52-year-old was previously found not guilty after convincing jurors he had acted in self-defence during an argument, but it has since emerged that this was a cover-up after the couple's child came forward with new evidence that Rhodes killed Miss Rhodes and they were involved in the murder too. And Taylor Swift has broken down in tears after meeting families of the Southport attack victims, a new TV documentary has revealed. The series, filmed while she was on tour, also includes footage of the American pop star reflecting on the stabbings that saw 3 children killed when they attended a dance and yoga workshop themed around her music. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you at the top of the hour.
Welcome to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News. Now, the King is set to deliver a personal message about his experience with cancer this evening in remarks at a Stand Up to Cancer event. recorded at Clarence House. The King will emphasise the importance of cancer screening to catch the disease as he reflects on his own journey with cancer. Joining me now is royal biographer and author Tom Bower. Tom, what are we expecting to hear this evening, do you think?
Well, I think it's unprecedented, it's brave, it's also astute, and it's really generous. I think a man suffering as the King is from what could be a terminal illness, and he's fighting bravely, addressing not only the nation, but also fellow sufferers, encouraging them that there is hope, encouraging in a way which has never been done before, is quite remarkable, and it's really the landmark in the history of the monarchy. We should all applaud the King for taking that moment today.
Indeed. Tom, is there something about the timing here as the nation is going into the Christmas, New Year period? Is timing significant?
Well, of course it is. I mean, it's a tough time for people who are facing cancer and all illnesses and diseases at this time. But I think it's particularly poignant for the King Charles. I mean, describing his own journey and his own suffering, when on the whole we've never seen him suffer when he's in public life, when he appears with fellow heads of state or visiting hospitals or whatever. You never see the King suffering. I mean, he's very jolly always. In private, I understand, he is very often very depressed, not surprisingly. And those people he's addressing today, those fellow sufferers, will know that here is a man who is suffering like they are. And it is the time because it's Christmas, but also because he feels he's had more than a year of it. He is now recovering, he hopes, and it's a good moment for him to speak to the nation.
Well, thank you, Tom. We are going to come back to you shortly. We just need to head over to Sophia Wenslow with news from the King.
Thank you, Matt. Let's hear now from the King.
This is a season when our thoughts turn to celebrations with our friends and families. In the midst of this festive period, I just wanted to ask you to join me today in finding a special place in your hearts and your minds and prayers for the hundreds of thousands of people across our United Kingdom who receive a cancer diagnosis each year, and for the millions more who love and care for them. I know from my own experience that a cancer diagnosis can feel overwhelming. Yet I also know that early detection is the key that can transform treatment journeys, giving invaluable time to medical teams and to their patients the precious gift of hope. These are gifts we can all help deliver. Throughout my own cancer journey, I've been profoundly moved by what I can only call the community of care that surrounds every cancer patient, the specialists, the nurses, researchers and volunteers who work tirelessly to save and improve lives. But I have also learned something that troubles me deeply. At least 9 million people in our country are not up to date with the cancer screenings available to them. That is at least 9 million opportunities for early diagnosis being missed. The statistics speak with stark clarity. To take just one example, when bowel cancer is caught at the earliest stage, around 9 in 10 people survive for at least 5 years. When diagnosed late, that falls to just 1 in 10. Early diagnosis quite simply saves lives. Now, I've heard this message repeatedly during my visits to cancer centres across the country. I know, too, what a difference it has made in my own case, enabling me to continue leading a full and active life, even while undergoing treatment. Indeed, today I am able to share with you the good news that thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention and adherence to doctors' orders, my own schedule of cancer treatment can be reduced in the new year. This milestone is both a personal blessing and a testimony to the remarkable advances that have been made in cancer care in recent years. Testimony that I hope may give encouragement to the 50% of us who will be diagnosed with the illness at some point in our lives. Yet, too often, I am told people avoid screening because they imagine it may be frightening, embarrassing, or uncomfortable. Even when they do finally take up their invitation, they are glad they took part. A few moments of minor inconvenience are a small price to pay for the reassurance that comes from most people when they are either told they don't need further tests or, for some, are given the chance to enable early detection with the life-saving intervention that can follow. This is why I'm so encouraged to learn about the new national screening checker that is available online. This simple tool allows you to check whether you are eligible for breast, bowel, or cervical cancer screening. It demystifies the process, answers your questions, and guides you towards taking that crucial step. As I have observed before, the darkest moments of illness can be illuminated by the greatest compassion. But compassion must be paired with action. This December, as we gather to reflect on the year past, I pray that we could each pledge, as part of our resolutions for the year ahead, to play our part in helping to catch cancer early. Your life, or the life of someone you love, may depend upon it. Therefore, this brings my most heartfelt thanks to the doctors, nurses, researchers, and charity workers involved in diagnosis and treatment programs, together with my particular good wishes to those for whom they care so selflessly.
The King speaking there. Back now to Friday night with Matt Goodwin in Westminster.
Well, thank you, Sophia. That was the King with a very personal message there about his cancer journey. Joining us to discuss that is GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker. Cameron, what do you make of the King's statement there that we've just heard?
Well, Matt, as Tom Bauer said just before His Majesty delivered his message, it is unprecedented that the King would speak perhaps so openly about his own cancer journey. And I think the way I'm interpreting this message is one of cautious optimism. So it is, in a sense, good news because he has confirmed that his treatments will be reduced, or the schedule of treatments will be reduced in the new year. At the moment, he is undergoing a weekly cycle of cancer treatments and has done so ever since his diagnosis way back in early 2024. He describes this as good news, and thanks to the early diagnosis of his condition. And the King was speaking during a Channel 4 and Cancer Research UK joint initiative for Stand Up to Cancer UK, confirming that treatments will be reduced, or the schedule of treatments will be reduced. Now, I understand that His Majesty will continue to undergo cancer treatment next year, but his recovery has reached what's been described as a positive stage, and his medical team have advised that the schedule of treatments can be reduced in 2026. And Buckingham Palace has told me that the King has responded exceptionally well to treatment, and his doctors advise that ongoing measures will now move into a precautionary phase. This position will be continuously monitored and reviewed to protect and prioritise his continued recovery. As the King said, this milestone on his recovery journey is a great personal blessing. And palace officials did, however, decline to give me details about the kind of cancer that His Majesty is having, or indeed the treatment, but reaffirms that the King does not have prostate cancer. If you remember way back, Matt, in January 2024, the King spent 3 nights in the central London hospital for treatments on an enlarged prostate. where a separate form of cancer was discovered. It's not publicly known what kind of treatment he has, as I said, but it's understood the doctors are taking that precautionary measure. And their spokesperson for His Majesty has told me this evening that the King has taken great comfort and encouragement from being able to continue leading a full and active life throughout his treatment. Of course, he's continued, really, hasn't he, with earnest public engagements, but also, of course, heeding the advice of his medical team. His ability to uphold all of his state duties and continue with public engagements and overseas tours has helped greatly with the positive mindset that, as many families will know, is such a vital part of the recovery journey. That's what a spokesperson for the King has told me tonight. Now, Matt, palace officials have said really throughout his kind of health issues over the last year or two that they're not going to give a running commentary of the King's condition ever since he was admitted to hospital almost 2 years ago. But of course, it is a fine balance because His Majesty is head of state, Matt, but also he is a private individual. So I think that's really the balance. But as I said, it's cautious optimism, I think, but certainly a positive step in the right direction tonight.
Absolutely. Well, that was GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker filling us in with the latest news from Buckingham Palace. Joining me now to discuss this in more depth is royal biographer and author Tom Bower. Tom, a very remarkable message there from the King, not only giving us an update on his personal health, but one of the things that's really hit me there was this astonishing statistic that 9 million people across the country are eligible for cancer screening but haven't taken it up. And it seems that, you know, he's led with this message that is much more about the country and wanting to help the British people than not focus only on his own situation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was not only unprecedented, but it was a very remarkable broadcast because you had the King there appealing to his subjects, so to speak, to understand the dangers they face and he personally has faced, and using his own personal experience to address the mass of Britons, 50% he rightly says are going to be affected by this terrible disease, and urging them on. And I think that'll appeal to a lot of people. A lot of people will have more sympathy for the King now than they might have previously because he has appealed to them as a human being. And I think that's tremendous. But also I think there's something else which is very important here, which is that there have been lots of rumours and gossip about the nature of the King's illness. And for him now to say that he's actually got over the worst, so to speak, I think puts to rest a lot of the rumours which suggested it was far worse than we understood. So I think that's doubly good news tonight.
And there's something else here, Tom, this new national cancer screening website that will allow people to go online to essentially look at what they're eligible to use to get this screening that the King is urging them to do. That seems like it's a very practical addition to this debate over how best we can fight cancer.
Well, it is, except what was omitted, what wasn't mentioned, of course, was screening for prostate cancer, which is why he originally went into hospital, and that has become a contentious issue. So there's politics involved in this too. And I think the King, by addressing the need for screening, is also raising with the government that they really do need to protect men too, not just women. And so again, I think Charles, the King, has intervened in a way which is a very positive way of urging politicians to realise how important screening is, and that the prostate screening is as important as cervical and breast screening.
Absolutely. Well, that was royal biographer and author Tom Bower joining us tonight. Thank you, as always, Tom, for your insights and your time. After the break coming up, we're going to be turning to look at foreign aid and asking the question, is it time, finally, to slash foreign aid and to stop your money being spent on completely useless projects in other parts of the world? And you're not going to want to miss this story because how your money is being spent, well, join me in a couple of minutes and I'll show you.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
I think it's just good, honest, humble food. And yeah, as people get away from the ultra processed stuff and get back to their roots, and what's better than a good jacket potato?
Do you know what? Sales of jacket spuds have gone through the roof. The big potatoes at Waitrose. There's been a 178% increase in people looking at recipes. And I just think it's wholesome, it's affordable, it's comfortable, you know, it makes you feel good, it's back to basics. That, I think, at the moment, sums up the nation.
I think very much it being affordable as well, with the climate we're living in at the moment, it definitely helps knowing, you know, you're putting food on the table for a reasonable price, and people appreciate that. And it's good, honest food. You can feed your kids, and kids are seeing it on social media, and they're getting excited about it as well. So they're not like, you know, obviously everyone sees all the big brands, and now there's all these, you know, jacket potato people out there, and we're giving them something that's healthy, and they want to eat it. And I think the parents appreciate that.
And Ben, I've seen your videos. They queue around the block to get to you. If people are in the mood to cook a potato tonight, of course, we don't want to affect your sales. What is your sort of top of the pops spud recipe? Give it to us.
Oh, it's all about variety. It's picking the right potato is really important. Get a nice melody or a cara or culture or something like that. Nice and big. In the oven, if you can. Hour and 20. Get a nice crispy skin on there. Loads of butter, loads of cheese, and a nice curry on top or something. That's my go-to.
Ooh. Now that was a final little curveball there you threw at the last minute there, Ben.
GBNews, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Friday Night with me, Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News, the People's Channel. Well, I've got a question for you tonight. Money is tight, but how is it right or fair that the British people are being forced to spend between 10 and 13 billion pounds on foreign aid every single year? And the details that came out today are both eye-watering and an utter disgrace. Bike lanes in Mexico, obesity programs in China, supplying Toyota 4x4s to refugees in Ethiopia, eco-farms in Nepal, over £1 million spent on five-star hotels in Nigeria. Now, we learn all of this courtesy of the Daily Telegraph, which talks about a feeding frenzy of private sector consultants who are overseeing and administering this foreign aid. In fact, they find that 1 in every £10 that is supposed to be helping the world's poorest people is actually funneled through the private sector. They include projects like five-star hotels, golf resorts, money being spent on party planners, lucrative stays at spa hotels and country clubs. Remember, this is your money. More than £11 billion, in fact, since 2010 has been given to consultancy firms, creating a British taxpayer-funded gravy train. 10% of the £113 billion that has been spent on foreign aid in that period. Just to give you some more numbers, which I found absolutely astonishing today, £1.2 million was spent on five-star stays at the Sheraton and Hilton hotels in the Nigerian capital under a £51 million project that was aimed at making Nigerian public sector organisations more accountable. Payments of $2.5 grand were sent to a bridal events company as part of a £20 million programme aimed at developing appealing job opportunities in the third world. And it gets even worse. According to Guido Fawkes, a popular Westminster blog, British taxpayers are also now providing training and scanners, get this, for border security in Pakistan. That's right, we can't control our own borders here, but we are now spending more than 100 million quid every year in foreign aid to Pakistan, including helping them secure their borders. Now, this all comes as the British people are grappling with one of the worst cost of living crises since the Second World War, from a tax-raising Labour budget, a national health service that is collapsing, and pensioners freezing during the winter months. The British people, I think, are being left behind, becoming second-class citizens. It's just outrageous. Here's what I think we should do. Slash all foreign aid in this country until we have a functioning National Health Service for the British people. No more foreign aid until we have a functioning police force on our streets, good schools for our children, and until we've controlled our borders. Let's fix Britain before we help the rest of the world. This racket has gone on for too long. Charity begins at home. Don't forget to tell me what you think. Friends of GB News can vote on this at the poll on our website. Should we slash foreign aid? You can vote by scanning the QR code on your screen right now or going to gbnews.com/you decide. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Media Campaign Director at the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood. William, a lot of people are going to be hearing these numbers, looking at these numbers in the Telegraph and thinking, hang on a minute, 10% of foreign aid since 2010 has gone on private consultants who have been having these junkets in five-star hotels, playing golf, going to spas. What on earth's going on?
Well, that's good work if you can get it, Matthew. I mean, let's take the 11.3 billion figure just for a second since 2010. Let's put that into context. That's the equivalent of over 8,800 households' entire lifetime taxes. So the average household pays about £1.3 million in lifetime taxes over their lifetime. So that's gone in one fell swoop. And like you said, spending on five-star hotels, days at golf resorts. Let's bring it back to basics. Can ordinary taxpayers, enjoy five-star hotels? Can ordinary taxpayers enjoy days out at golf resorts? No, they can't. So why on earth are they funding this kind of foreign aid?
And just to, there are people out there who would say, actually, what these people are doing is coordinating international aid. You need a bureaucracy around foreign aid that allows countries to, put it to good work. So, not to defend these companies, but to say, aren't they actually doing some good here?
No, and I don't frankly care. I want the entirety of the foreign aid budget to be defunded. The 2015 statutory obligation to spend about 0.7% of our gross national income on foreign aid, I want that abolished. And the only foreign aid that we should be spending is on genuine humanitarian crises like tsunamis, floods and the work. So no, I don't think this is even remotely justified. And also, if they said that this money was really important in going to foreign aid and sorting out all these issues, why aren't these issues being solved?
The Reform Party, I notice, have pledged to slash foreign aid by about 90%. Seems to be a pretty popular policy out there in the country. But there are people in Westminster and Whitehall who would say that would undermine Britain's position in the wider world. It would erode our soft power. I'm not saying I agree with those people, but there is a view in Westminster that foreign aid is part of our how we project power internationally.
Yeah, that's a view in Westminster. It's not a view in the rest of the country, Matt. Why should a single mother working two jobs pay taxes so that consultants can go abroad and stay in nice five-star hotels? Why should a cabbie pay taxes so that Ethiopia can have better tax collecting services? Why should a victim of the grooming gang scandal, actually, as we found at the Taxpayers Alliance, be funding foreign aid to Pakistan, where £88 million has gone on promoting the use of contraception in that country? It's just simply not fair.
I did see that shocking story. I'm just going to bring in the panel right now. Assistant comment editor at the Daily Telegraph, Poppy Coburn, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. Poppy, what do you make of this Telegraph splash?
I mean, to be honest with you, I do understand why, if you're a private sector consultant, you would expect a certain standard of living if you're going out there. But I have to agree with William, which is, I don't think we should be spending the money in the first place. I mean, listen to the examples that were being read out. Why are we spending millions and millions of pounds on helping access to people to get access to public services in Nigeria? I mean, what has that got to do with the United Kingdom whatsoever? And when I have brought this up before to people who work in the Foreign Office, who are always banging on about Britain's soft power, I'm like, OK, what have we actually tangibly gained from this? Because I do agree. I think if there's a typhoon, if there's an earthquake, if there's a tsunami, of course we should give humanitarian aid. We don't actually want people to be suffering, starving, dying. But this has nothing to do with any of our strategic, desires in this country. It's just throwing money that will end up in the hand of corrupt people within those countries who just pocket it, buy themselves a nice house, buy themselves a nice car. And I actually do find that more offensive than just, maybe getting a hotel. That's just one tiny issue on a much bigger problem.
Let's just bring in Kai Wilshaw here.
Poppy, can you not see how trying to take the example that was in that story, how trying to rebuild or indeed build from scratch state capacity in a country like Nigeria, in sub-Saharan countries, might if successful, have an impact on our border crisis here in the UK.
You're actually wrong there, because I've done research on it. I'm currently writing a book on it. The more that countries from these regions of the world, third world countries, become wealthy and move towards the Western world, the more likely people are to actually move. And particularly if you have a link between a first world country and a third world country, like the UK does with Nigeria, it makes those bonds much more likely for people to try and move over to us specifically. So if you wanted to make a case for reducing migration from Nigeria, you would say we should get less involved in Nigerian politics, we should not be funding their government institutes, and we should not have a presence there. We should not have the United Kingdom having a presence there. So that's how I would deal with the migration crisis. It has nothing to do with essentially bribing public officials in the country and saying, please don't let your people come
here. So a complete reduction and withdrawal of the UK's role across the world, full stop.
Well, what role is it? We're not a colonial power anymore.
We got...
we don't have the British Empire anymore.
In almost eliminating poverty across the world, the progress to take AIDS, HIV as an example, the amount of additional deaths that have been prevented by that push. We were so close to eliminating HIV/AIDS for the first time in the last few decades recently, and now.
But that's the American situation. Well, it's got nothing to do with the UK. It's got everything to do with America.
That is just nonsense, by the way. 75% of the aid to HIV/AIDS programs, yes, were US aid, but we've also pulled back recently.
And we were a tiny fraction of that.
Well, our contribution to the Global Fund has reduced massively in the last dispensation. So
let's just bring William Yarwood back in. It just feels to me that this is another example of the social contract in this country not really making any sense anymore. We've had all of the news this week about the welfare benefits. We've got 350,000 families, foreign-born families, who are going to benefit from Labour's changes around the two-child cap being lifted. Now people are reading about, billions of pounds going on five-star junkets for private sector consultants. Why am I working so hard, William, when my tax money is going on this stuff?
Well, that's a question I think many people are asking, and I think one thing we at the TPA are really pointing out is that broken social contract between the state and the taxpayer. Like, taxpayers expect public services to work. They expect their taxpayers' money to be used efficiently and correctly on things that they actually care about. But if you go out on the street and ask the ordinary person what they want their money spent on, it's not, it's not five-star hotels for consultants in foreign countries. It's not, improving the Nigerian public sector. It's not contraceptives for Pakistan. It's getting their potholes fixed. It's making sure that, their areas are completely clean. It's making sure that public services actually work. And actually, quite frankly, if we defunded this foreign aid, we could put a little bit of money towards some of those things that are more important to average British people.
I mean, just for example, Poppy Coburn, I wrote something today about the fact that we reject every year 15,000 young British kids from becoming doctors, going into medical schools, because it's too expensive for us to train them up, so Westminster says. So we import more doctors from overseas than we train here in the country. Why don't we take all of this foreign aid money and throw it at expanding medical places for young British kids?
I completely agree. I mean, you don't have to be Scrooge here. You don't have to say, screw these people, we're not going to give them any support. We actually are very supportive as a people, but we do it through charity. It's all voluntary. The difference is whether or not that money is being raised through taxation and then given over, because there's no actual control over whether or not your money is going to a particular place. So I completely agree, right? You've got this massive crisis in the NHS, but we always seem to pull the lever of, what's the most convenient for the people in the government, as opposed to what's convenient for the British people. And again, it just comes down to freedom and it comes down to choice.
Kai, briefly, it does feel as though the left are starting to lose this argument. In this cost of living crisis, people are saying, why are we spending 10, 11, 12 billion quid on cycling lanes in Mexico?
Yeah, no, I agree. And you pick out these projects, and I've said before that they're cherry-picked, but the fact they exist is a nonsense. I agree with you. The international development sector needs to be much better at cutting this rubbish out. If they want to make an argument for keeping that budget, that show actually how powerful it can be without these sort of stories coming out.
Well, we do have a right of reply here. We've got Sarah Champion MP, chair of the International Development Committee. She told The Telegraph this: value for money and specialist skills should be the drivers for using consultants. Since coming to power, this government has taken a difficult decision to cut the aid budget in order to pay for defence and security, which is the first priority of this government and its people. We are focused on outcomes, but we are not dogmatic about how that is delivered or who is doing the work. As and when consultancies offer the most effective value for money way of doing this, we will not shy away from using them. Well, there you go. Coming up next, we're going to be asking, can the government's new inquiry into the grooming gang scandal be trusted to be impartial and rigorous, given what we've learned this week about who is actually going to be on this grooming gang inquiry? We're going to be debating that in 1 minute.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews travel destinations forecast.
After some recent downpours, the eastern Mediterranean is turning a lot drier and brighter through the weekend. Meanwhile, off the west coast of Africa, some rain will be drifting southwards, so it could be quite showery in the Canaries on Saturday. Some showers also likely over the Balearics, particularly for Ibiza. Largely fine for Italy and some sunshine returning to Greece, although with the breeze coming down from the north, it'll stay fairly cool here. We should see the sunny skies returning to Tenerife through Sunday and Monday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews travel destinations forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. This weekend is going to be very wet for some northwestern areas. We do have yellow and amber warnings in force, but it will remain largely dry actually across southern and eastern areas. That's once this weather front clears away to the east through this evening. So after a bit of a cloudy afternoon, skies will clear this evening across the south and east, leaving much of the UK with clear, long-lived dry spells throughout tonight. It won't be entirely dry far northwest of Scotland. We'll see some showers across the north and west. Some of these could be heavy. And with clear skies across the UK, temperatures will fall away a little bit lower than they have done lately, so a slightly chillier night to come. A touch of frost to start the day across many southern areas, rurally in particular, but it will be a fairly bright start. Plenty of sunshine first thing on Saturday. However, will be a few showers across the far northwest of Scotland. Elsewhere, though, plenty of sunshine. A bit of mist and fog around at first. That should clear quite quickly, however. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Wales, as well as England. But you can see that mist and fog around. There will be a few pockets first thing. And I think the best of the more widespread sunshine will be Saturday morning, as we head towards Saturday lunchtime and into Sunday, this rain will spread in from the north and west, and it's going to linger through much of the weekend across northwestern areas. So we do have some quite long-lived warnings in force for parts of western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales later on in the weekend, as well as northwestern England, Cumbria in particular. Further south and east, though, it's going to be actually a pretty dry weekend, and there'll be plenty of sunshine on Saturday. But there is an amber warning in force for the likes of Cumbria for Sunday and into Monday. We could see in excess of 200 millimetres of build-up through the course of 48 hours or so. So with warnings in force, we are expecting disruption. Flooding is likely as well in some areas. So please stay tuned to the forecast. It does stay unsettled into next week as well. Bye-bye.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Friday Night with Matt Goodwin, right here on GB News. Now, this week, one of the big stories, Baroness Longfield, a former Children's Commissioner and England and Labour peer, has been appointed to chair the national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal. This is a really big moment for the country. Joining Baroness Longfield on the panel will be Zoe Billingham, a former inspector at HM Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services, and Eleanor Kelly, former Chief Executive of Southwark Council. But will the panel really be able to serve victims and make sure they get the justice that they deserve? There's a big debate now emerging about this inquiry out there in the country. And to discuss this in a bit more detail, I'm joined by Marilyn Hawes, founder of Freedom from Abuse. Marilyn, if I can just start with this. Does this inquiry that's finally come from the Labour government, does it inspire trust among the victims of the grooming gang scandal and their families?
Well, nothing inspires trust from the Labour government, does it? I mean, I have a huge respect for Anne Longfield. I mean, I really do. As a Children's Commissioner, I think she was great. So where do these other two pop up from? Who actually appointed them? I mean, this should be cross-party, not just Labour choices. I think it's very difficult to satisfy all the survivors. They've all got different memories. Wells says commonality of what happened to them. Their trauma is different. They'll be in different stages of their trauma. It's very difficult to actually achieve what you really want with all of them. But, you know, this goes beyond. I'll tell you what, something else I really annoys me. How we keep saying, or they keep saying, Asians. You know, Asia is a massive continent. You do not see the Chinese, the Singaporeans, the Sri Lankans, the Burmese doing what these people have done. It is Pakistani. Say it. Stop wrapping it up with Asian, because it's more than that. It is Pakistani and some Bangladeshis. But if I may go on, what is really irritating me, this has to be done. We have to crack on and do it. I think Anne Longfield is a great choice, but I would like to know on what criteria were the other two chosen. It should be cross-party, but it's still occurring. There's no. I mean, I had the most grueling conversation today with two Uber drivers up in Newcastle, and I've actually referred it to Europol, where, as we speak, there are girls being trafficked around Newcastle, taken down to Leeds, blah, 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 up there, and the police are doing nothing. So it's still going on across the country. Also, alongside this inquiry, because it is still going on, why is it the Pakistani? Yes, they are patriarchal. Yes, they are misogynist. What is it about them? They hunt in packs across the country. There is this familial connection of brothers, cousins, uncles, fathers, all doing this with a total disrespect of white women, treating us like trash. And
absolutely. Well, Marilyn, I just before...
Can I just say one more thing? And then please let me say one more thing. A friend of mine works in a school with a very high Pakistani ethnic pupillage, yeah? And I was talking to her yesterday, and she said to me, I'm not being funny, Marilyn, but we have 6-year-olds, and that's infant school, 6-year-old Pakistani boys who will not take direction from a white teacher. So you've got the next band coming through.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're just going to bring in the panel briefly. That was Marilyn Hawes, founder of Freedom from Abuse. I just want to turn to Kai Wilshaw, political commentator, to get some brief reaction there. Marilyn basically saying, look, there's been a collapse of confidence, and also even now, and you see it on social media. I spent this week on X looking at people on the left saying, how dare you look at this relationship between ethnicity, culture, and the grooming gangs? I put it to you, there's a lot of people on the left that still don't get it.
Yeah, no, and I saw Mike Tapp, the Home Office Minister, speak about the fact that they will look at the links between culture and the perpetrators of these crimes, right? As Marilyn said, they have to crack on and deal with this. We can't be talking about criteria and talking about the composition of the panel and so on. I know there will be people who are angry. You can't satisfy everybody with these kind of reviews, but they need to crack on and do something. I think that's what the Labour government is committed to.
It just seems absolutely bonkers to me that after all of this time, knowing that it was largely Labour-held councils where a lot of the grooming gang activity was happening and was swept under the carpet, we're now in a situation with a national inquiry headed up by a Labour peer. I just find it absolutely mind-boggling. Well, look, up next is time for Matt in Conversation. I'll be having an honest conversation about something Westminster doesn't want to talk about. That's the multiple media reports of Afghan men committing horrific sex crimes in this country. We're going to be debating that in just 1 minute. See you then.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GBNews, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel. You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Friday Night with Matt Goodwin right here on GB News. Now, look, we've got to have a serious and frank conversation in this country about the number of Afghan migrants who are being convicted of horrific sex crimes against British women and girls. Data from the Ministry of Justice showed that between 2021 and 2023, foreign nationals are convicted of up to 23% of sex crimes, but Afghans, we know from Freedom of Information requests, are estimated to be about 20 times more likely than British nationals to commit sexual offences. And we've seen some of these absolutely horrific cases in recent days and weeks, and we've learned about them. For example, the two Afghans who were convicted for raping a 15-year-old schoolgirl in Leamington Spa just months after they arrived on the small boats. And I don't hear anybody in Westminster talking about these cases, but they are increasingly dominating national media reports. And, you know, the people who are concerned about this are not a fringe minority. On the contrary, YouGov polling shows that 93% of British people support deporting illegal migrants who are convicted of rape or other violent crimes, and more than two-thirds, 67%, believe that illegal migration is putting women in this country at risk. So I want to have a conversation about what on earth is going on in this country. Joining me now, before I bring the panel back in, is Keith Prince, Reform UK, London Assembly member for Havering and Redbridge. Keith, look at the stories just over the last week. You know, it's not even daily anymore. It feels to me as though it's hourly. We're learning about these horrific sexual offences. We're seeing that shocking footage from Leamington Spa, a young girl being led off into the bushes by two Afghan men. People out there saying, what on earth is happening?
Well, good evening. No, it's an absolute disgrace, and we are seeing more and more of this. These people are coming in, they're not being vetted properly, they're being put up in hotels and HMOs, allowed to roam freely in our society, and yet they're committing these crimes.
Including these guys, by the way, who are allowed to walk around freely after we knew about the offence.
Yeah, exactly. It's just completely unacceptable. And, you know, the worst thing about this is all the cover-up that we're seeing. The fact that we know now, and we're learning more and more, as you say, every day, hourly, about more and more cover-ups where top police officers, councillors have all been trying to hide the origins of these people. It's completely unacceptable. And anyway, what are they doing in this country? If they're illegal, they should be deported straight away.
Deporting illegal migrants, what about what President Trump has said? Look, if there are certain nationalities that are more predisposed to committing crime, we should just not allow them to come into the country. We should actually start banning visas from particular countries. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's something that maybe should be looked at, but I believe that if someone's going to come and make a contribution to the country legally, then maybe there's a place for them. But most certainly, we should not have illegals in here. We certainly should not allow illegals to stay. And we most definitely should not be putting them up in hotels and HMOs.
Keith, I'm going to bring you back in 1 second. I just want to bring in the panel, Poppy Coburn from The Telegraph and Kai Wilshaw. Kai, I have been watching this week on social media lots of people on the left saying, well, how dare you weaponise sexual violence against British women and girls? Yeah. Paloma Faith, for example, celebrities coming out saying, how dare you talk about these cases and link them to immigration? Are these people insane?
Yeah, and I'm fed up with it, actually. They need to get a grip. And maybe I have a bit of a front row seat.
Me, Kai.
Look, no, maybe I have a front row seat because I come
like
here.
A GBNews viewer if ever I've heard one.
Stop it. My conversion isn't yet complete. No, we need to stop being so touchy-feely on the left and get a grip of it. No, I took my time. I think lots in the Labour Party are still taking their time. But clearly the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and some on the right wing of the Labour Party, like Mike Tapp, who's been criticised quite a lot on social media this week for saying what is obvious to anybody who looks into these stories. Yeah, I'm annoyed that some people still don't get it, and it's going to take time, and it's going to hit them at the ballot box as well.
Poppy Coburn.
I don't think we need any more condemnation. OK, this has been going on for as long as I'm alive. That's 25 years. The only way that you're going to stop this from happening, because those two guys, by the way, that raped that teenage girl, because they're from Afghanistan, we cannot currently deport them. They raped a child, and we can't deport them because Afghanistan is not considered a safe country. That's true for people who are raping children from Sudan, from Yemen, from Eritrea. We can't get rid of those people. In fact, the more heinous their crime, the more likely they are to remain in the UK. Yeah. So here's what we need to do. We need to leave the ECHR, rule number 1. Rule number 2, we need to rip up the Human Rights Convention because it doesn't work for the modern world. Any politician who will condemn this, say this is so awful, thoughts and prayers, how devastating for these families, but doesn't actually say that we're willing to do those things, you can completely ignore them. I've had enough of having to read about these cases. It's time to actually get some action now.
In terms of getting action, Keith, you know, we have a ruling class in this country that is obsessed with this idea of suicidal empathy. They will basically preach compassion and empathy for everybody else around the world while destroying their own country, putting their own women and girls at risk. Poppy, they're saying it's time to move past the rhetoric. We need serious action.
Well, I think you should join Reform, actually, Poppy. You know what I mean?
Is this under consideration, Poppy?
I'm a journalist. Don't get me in trouble. Don't you get me in trouble.
Future Reform MP. But yeah. What's the course of action? Because people watching this show, I'm beyond furious with these headlines.
It's well, ship them back. I mean, I really don't care what their fate is in their country. I don't care if Afghan isn't a safe country. You know, I don't want my country being unsafe so they can be safe from not being in Afghanistan, for example.
I'll tell you the other thing that gets me is the hypocrisy of middle-class woke women saying, how dare you weaponise sexual violence and link it to migration. They don't talk about these cases at all. They absolutely ignore them. Well, that's it for us tonight. Patrick Christis tonight is coming up after Friday Night with Matt Goodwin. Patrick, what have you got coming up on your show tonight?
Yes, well, I'm here with my wonderful live studio audience. Hello, everybody. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, everyone who's made the journey to be here. Great to see so many of you. Well, we've got loads on tonight. Is everyone here ready for war? You all want war, do you? No? No, there's one bloke at the back who's very ready for war. There we go. Well, we're being told that war is coming. I just wonder whether or not people would want to fight for Sir Keir Starmer, but there we go. Also, thank you for braving the flu epidemic, everybody. I hope nobody's too ill, but again, that was all over the front page, wasn't it? Should the NHS really be protecting us, though, or are we supposed to be protecting it? I've got all of that and much more on. I'll see you in this wonderful lot in a minute. All right.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update, brought to you from the Met Office. This weekend is going to be very wet for some northwestern areas. We do have yellow and amber warnings in force, but it will remain largely dry actually across southern and eastern areas. That's once this weather front clears away to the east through this evening. So after a bit of a cloudy afternoon, skies will clear this evening across the south and east, leaving much of the UK with clear, long-lived dry spells throughout tonight. It won't be entirely dry. Far northwest of Scotland, we'll see some showers across the north and west. Some of these could be heavy. And with clear skies across the UK, temperatures will fall away a little bit lower than they have done lately, so a slightly chillier night to come. A touch of frost to start the day across many southern areas, rurally in particular, but it will be a fairly bright start. Plenty of sunshine first thing on Saturday. However, will be a few showers across the far northwest of Scotland. Elsewhere, though, plenty of sunshine. A bit of mist and fog around at first. That should clear quite quickly, however. And plenty of sunshine for Northern Ireland, Wales, as well as England. But you can see that mist and fog around. There will be a few pockets first thing. And I think the best of the more widespread sunshine will be Saturday morning, as we head towards Saturday lunchtime and into Sunday, this rain will spread in from the north and west, and it's going to linger through much of the weekend across northwestern areas. So we do have some quite long-lived warnings in force for parts of western Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales later on in the weekend, as well as northwestern England, Cumbria in particular. Further south and east, though, it's going to be actually a pretty dry weekend, and there'll be plenty of sunshine on Saturday. But there is an amber warning in force for the likes of Cumbria for Sunday and into Monday. We could see in excess of 200 millimetres build up through the course of 48 hours or so. So with warnings in force, we are expecting disruption. Flooding is likely as well in some areas. So please stay tuned to the forecast. It does stay unsettled into next week as well. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watching